Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. As always, I'm your host, Kelby Bachman, and please give it up for the next guest on the show, Jon McGovern. So Jon is from Riceville, Iowa, where he was a 4-time state qualifier and 3-time place winner. He went on to wrestle at Central College and was a 3-time All-American and 2-time national champ. Jon made the U.S. national team in 98, finished 3rd at the 98 World Team Trials, and also placed 4th at the 2000 Olympic Trials. He's been the head coach at the University of Dubuque since 2002 and has only added to his elite resume. And in 2024, Jon was inducted into the Riceville Hall of Fame. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy head coach Jon McGovern. In the heart of West Union, Iowa, lies a hidden gem in Euphoria Coffee. Owned by local residents Nicole and Shane Havenstreit, they source everything they can from local vendors. From hot and iced drinks, to savory breakfast burritos, to baked goods, to botany tea, and even homemade waffles, Euphoria Coffee is a place your entire family can enjoy. You can find more information at drinkeuphoriacoffee2go.com or visit their Facebook page. And we also have a special gift just for you. Next time you stop in, you can get a free baked good with a $20 purchase. Just mention the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. Euphoria Coffee. Our purpose is deeper than coffee.
I watched your one with Dave. That was good. Yeah.
Yeah. He was a good one. He was easy. Like for me as somebody who's kind of interviewing, like he was genuine, easy to talk to, all the things, gave great answers. He's Dave Mitchell. He's been doing this for how long,
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, he was in FFA with me, and he was always good at like communication, parliamentary procedure. I think he was our class president. Like,
really,
treasurer. Yeah.
He was an FFA with you, huh?
Yeah, cattle judging together. Yeah, we did a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny. I actually reached out to him and got a couple tidbits about you and how you. First thing he said was he had to work out in high school before he had to do anything else. He had to work out, or you had to get a workout in before you could like go have fun, basically.
That's funny. Yeah, it's pretty true. Yeah, that's funny.
Why?
Yeah, that's good. I guess it just made me feel like I was on track, and yeah, when we were growing up, we didn't have much, so
yeah,
a dream and some ambition. We just didn't have like a lot of money. Like we didn't have a TV. We had like cold water. Our basement. Dave can share with that. Like it was like a dungeon. Like so, I thought wrestling for me. Like I thought that was like a way out of like just being able to express yourself and just get out of just like maybe an entrapment of like just like freedom. Like hey, we can get off this. And when my dad started a cattle selling business, it's when he started to get out of debt, and I just noticed like it took a lot of stress off the family. But yeah, there's a lot of families when they have like we had 5 in our family, and sometimes it's hard to feed everybody. It can be stressful on families.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking back then even, wrestling, it wasn't a sport that, when you look at it, that would kind of make you money or give you a life,
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's not like you're going to get rich, but at the time you're thinking, you have no clue. Like, hey, these guys didn't all get on the Wheaties box, didn't make money. But nowadays with the NIL, these guys, I was just talking to Coach Hall. I'm like, these guys at the NCAA make more than our Olympic guys. They can make $1 million as a D1 national champ, and it'd be hard for them to make that kind of money as an Olympic gold medalist.
Yeah.
It's different money for an NCAA athlete now. So now it's kind of like a really what we thought it maybe could have been. It kind of have like real viable. Look at a guy like Masoni. He was offered money at UW Wisconsin, and then he was offered $300,000 to go to Iowa after winning a D3 title. He's worth $100,000 a year to a D1 program, and so the funny thing with wrestling is it's a small world, but you can kind of find out what the market share and what kind of where people are at. And it's But that's what I like about it, is it's kind of transparent. It's not really hidden. It's kind of out there in the open, and it's honest.
Yeah. Well, how do you compete with that then? I mean, that's always the big question now, is how do little schools or smaller schools with a smaller budget, like a University of Dubuque, compete and keep those athletes in-house as opposed to them having success and then going and chasing the money?
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, honestly, I don't know if I want to compete in a way that helps the guy. So like we had Brandon Murray here, and he was wrestling. I had this conversation with my RTC athletes. Said, hey, you might need to go. Like he's with Kevin Dresser and David Carr. Like if there's a better place, and we help them, and that's why I feel like we're better competitors, because we're not competing to win titles as much as to help humans, like help people. And I feel like sometimes it might seem like we're losing to the outside world, but inside we know we're winning. Like we're really taking care of people, like we're helping people, and it might not always be about us and our little empires. It's like,
Mhm.
it's like helping people and knowing you made a difference is what's going to leave a legacy. That you feel good about. So
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like if I lose to Iowa or a recruit, if I lost to them, I feel like I won because I helped that guy make money that he wasn't going to make here.
Hmm.
Now, would I like my alum to pay that kind of money? Yeah, but uh, you know, that's another story. I mean, that's a possibility that starts happening at D3, that it could start raising money from certain private NIL factors. But if we have an athlete get offered something to Penn State or Iowa, but I could see where if I was a D1 program and I was losing my D1 All American to money to Penn State or somebody, it would start to kind of irk at you, because you're back with the same teams you're competing. Where generally in D3 we're pretty much not that kind of money, but I think they had to give a little bit probably to get Masomi back from
Hmm.
Wisconsin. It probably wasn't free, but that's legal. So it's not like it's illegal. It's just a different game. So great questions. I know that is probably what the D1 coaches have to focus more on, and that's probably what makes the D3 experience even that much more enjoyable for the community and the athletes involved in it.
Yeah, true. And I mean, what does it mean? You have a very successful athlete already, kind of in your RTC and Brady Coons. I mean, what's that like to have somebody, kind of pave the way to be like, you can come here, you can have success. You don't have to go anywhere. It's nice to go somewhere probably a little bigger, better, have better facilities, whatever. But I mean, we have somebody in our backyard who's doing pretty darn well for himself and in our RTC.
Yeah, I mean that's an amazing thing. What loyalty and community and support he shows,
Yeah.
and he's just is and just a great person, ambassador, and great value pros, and yeah, represents Division 3, and yeah, we're lucky that he's here. Really, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And sometimes the Greco guys, there's a little bit different journey for them. I mean, Dennis trained at Stevens Point, UW Stevens Point D3, and he was a 3-time Olympian. So it shows that you can do that here, and you can be the best in D3. Sorry, so somebody's mowing out there. I don't know if that's back there.
It's all right.
Now,
Yeah, it's good.
okay. So yeah, but no, it's been a blessing to have Brady here and Dylan and guys that are
Yeah.
choosing to here. But if at any time they got offered more money to go somewhere else, I wouldn't feel bad. I'd feel happy for them. But also, I think they love it here in the community and camaraderie. It just doesn't pay the same. But sometimes you get paid in different ways than money, right? You just
Right.
rewarded with.
Yeah. Um, what I asked Dave, I want to ask you the same question here real quick. So because you guys were inducted into the Hall of Fame, the Riceville Hall of Fame,
Uh,
in yeah, in 2024, so just last year. And I
yeah,
asked Dave, I was like, what took him so long? So like, what
yeah.
what took him so long?
I think they just started that, and that was the second year of them having it,
Gotcha.
and they really like are going to, yeah, just including, yeah. But no, thanks for saying that, and that was a great experience with, it was almost felt like God had put us together. I mean, it just was really nice to be with my high school best friend. We were best friends. He married my cousin. I set him up with my cousin and family. But that was a great experience, being back in Riceville with Dave.
Yeah, how did you set up him up with your cousin? Like, how did that all work out?
Well, I knew I wanted to stay in the family, so we had a family reunion, and had them meet at the Murphy's bar, and I remember them coming back late at night at the reunion, sneaking their car in, and I knew they hit it off. And from then it kind of took off, and then he went to Wisconsin lacrosse to wrestle after Winona, and they lived together. And I went there and coached him, and I lived with them with Bridget and Dave, and yeah, we just have a lot of stories, a lot of what you do in life. Sharing the memories is and who with is a big part of it. And I feel blessed that I have somebody like Dave to recall a lot of great memories from growing up.
Yeah, did you recruit him a little bit over to UW lacrosse?
Yeah, I think actually that might be the case, but I can't remember if he went first or I did. I can't remember how that went, but I remember he was at Winona. He was doing very well at math, and he was going to go into teaching, but I think he had an itch to get back. I think I did kind of help steer him that way. Yeah, that's right. He went there first, and then after he was there, I went there and coached for a year with Greg Lonning, who was, a legend, like just a great person.
Yeah. So he coached, or he got you to come to lacrosse.
Yeah, that might be right. And Greg, it's hard to turn down those two guys, right? Just two great. So, like $1 million or work with $1 million people, it's like, well, I think I'm going to be with these people.
Yeah. And Riceville, is that where you were born and raised, in Riceville?
Yeah, yep. It was hard for my dad grew up there, and they sold the family farm, and it's a lot of roots back in Riceville for sure.
How often do you get back there?
Now that they sold the farm, not as much. My uncle was a priest. He's buried in the cemetery there, and a lot of my family is buried in the Riceville cemetery, and just a lot of family there. But yeah, I don't always go back. But it's good memories because it's small town. People personally, some of the hard things they went through and the good times. But you feel like family to those guys. Like you feel connected. I love small towns. I just think it's a great way to grow up. I wish my son. I just love small towns. They need you for every sport. You get a chance to, you matter, and I think it's these big mega schools. I think sometimes kids have to make decisions too early about whether they're going to be able to make the high school team, and they can't really. To me, sports is just too valuable of an educational tool to have to only do if you're number one on the varsity ladder at a big mega school. I just think that kids can get so much of that at any level that's why I love small schools, is I think they grow through the community, through the sports, through the school system, and I don't think bigger is always better.
True. Yeah. And you learned that firsthand because you were good at wrestling, but before you thought maybe wrestling was going to be your path, I read that track was actually going to be your path too. Whatever happened with that? That's
funny you say that. That's great research. So I watched the Olympics and I watched track, and I remember I was started running just a whole bunch, and I got little sticks, made stick hurdles. I made and just ran hard. And then I think what happened is, it's epigenetics, right? The environment. It was a wrestling town. We weren't really a track town, and my brothers wrestled. They got me into wrestling. Dave Ripley, our coach, and so I think it kind of was just got affected by the environment. My goals kind of turned towards wrestling. I wasn't really a great wrestler right out the gate. I remember my first match just getting kind of headaches and just thinking, I don't know about this. My brothers got me in it. But, it was part of the community at Riceville for sure. And having Dave and teammates like that to go through it with. Dave only got to pick one sport. His dad, they were a farm family, and he only had to pick one sport. And he loved football. We'd play football games together in our yards, and he'd put up his uniform. I think he was I can't remember. He was the Vikings. That's right. And I was the Cowboys, and we'd have plays, and we played football, and he loved football. So for him to give up football to wrestle was a big deal. And so, teammates are huge. So Dave was a big part of my life, and that might have played a factor why I wasn't in track, because he wasn't. Did
you ever do track then, like competitively, or like you did?
Yeah, I did in high school. Yeah, we went in the state medley. Went to state. I had like a 2.0. I didn't have anything fancy fast, but enough to keep me in a small town track team.
There you go. Yeah. Well, that's too bad those track dreams died young. What could have been, right?
That's right. That's it. Dream broken, new one coming on. Yeah.
So your brothers got into wrestling first, and that's how you sort of got into it as well?
Yeah, yeah. Dave's brother was the first state champ in our high school, and he kind of really started the whole vision. I mean, those guys come back as state champs in a small town that never won a state title in anything. That's where it all like. That's where it's like, ooh, okay. So then my brothers went to state. My brother was a state runner-up, and they were So they got me wrestling and got me going to tournaments, and so yeah, they were a big part of and they were very supportive of all my high school and college career, which was great. Wrestling, it's like a family affair.
Yeah. So were you just the three amigos? You three just went to tournaments everywhere together, or what?
Well, I was younger, so I went more with probably Dave than I did my
Ah,
brothers.
okay.
Dave was kind of, yeah, maybe an adopted brother in a way, like that. Because those two were really close and older, and so they were in college when I was in high school. So, and
Gotcha.
they, but definitely I got to see them and what they did in wrestling before I went. So they went to Riceville, and then they went to Central, and I just kind of followed their path to their family. And Greg Lonnie recruited me to Central. He was the huge force.
Yeah. Did you almost go somewhere else other than Central? I mean, I know your brothers went there, but was there a point where you were like, I need to go forge my own path, you know?
Yeah, well, Dave Mitchell and I went to UNI. We visited there, and I was looking at Drake College, and they
Oh,
was
right.
wanting to come in, and they were offering books and different things. And I asked one of the guys what the coach's philosophy was, and I think it was Kittleson. He said his philosophy is he pays you to wrestle, and I'm like, wow, I really think I'll invest in my wrestling. I'll go with Greg Lonnie, and I think I'll get more out of being coached and developed here in this environment than just the money, because money is not as much as people think it is for value. So I went to
Mhm.
Central, even though we had some opportunities, and Dave and I kind of felt the vibes that you and I at that time was not. The visits we recognize now are so important because maybe it didn't come off quite the way, but you can tell when there's certain vibes of party scene or this. And Dave and I were, but Dave, if he would have went there, I think we would have went together. I think there were some things if he would have went there, but I think he was at a point in his career where he was very, very practical, and he knew like, you know, well, he had a plan. So, but it all worked.
Yeah,
I
did
tell you this. So when I was at Central, there was a point that he was thinking about wrestling, and I was thinking, well, because I beat the Iowa starter at Midlands, and we went there. So we went on a big road trip before my senior year, and we went to like University of New Mexico. We drove down there. We looked at Bill Das. We went to Colorado, Wyoming. We went to schools that didn't even have wrestling. We didn't even know they didn't have it. But we did a big old road trip and came back. And I ended up staying at Central. I think that's when he decided to go to lacrosse after that trip. So we were both looking to possibly go somewhere together, D1. We ended up having a good time, and
mhm.
yeah, that's what happened. But that's how close we were.
Did you guys ever get in any like arguments or disagreements? I mean, did you guys ever fight at all?
That's funny. I don't really not with Dave, man. Not we
Yeah.
just didn't have that kind of relationship. I mean, I don't know what yeah. Yeah, we're always on it. We could have deep conversations. I mean, yeah, that was a special friend. Yeah,
Yeah.
I miss. Yeah, we had a lot of good time. It's been great. Outside of us competing against each other, it's been great. But and sometimes I wish, because I always wanted to see him do well. So it's been nice when we're not you know, competing against each other. But when we are, if I win, I don't always know if I feel like I won, and if I lost, I don't always feel like I completely lost because it's like family. I mean, I know people seem to think that's weird, but I mean, yeah, sure, we definitely want to beat each other, but it's also, do we really? I mean, I love that guy. You know,
Right. Yeah. Um, did you guys scrap much when you were growing up? I know he was a little bit bigger, but did he get bigger towards maybe the, later part of the
yeah.
career or
More towards the later part, but early on we did, and we used to do like wrestling, football, boxing. We used to box. We used to
really?
box dark, and yeah, he used to. Yeah, he had a pool table down there, and one time he remember to turn off lights, and then it got a little crazy. It got a little crazy with boxing gloves. But even if we were trying to knock each other out, we still liked it. We loved each other, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what makes it special, when you want to knock each other out, but at the end of the day, when everything's done, you can put your arm around each other and, you know, walk off as friends.
Yeah, 100%.
Um, what I want to ask you real quick, actually, about your home life a little bit, like, because you kind of said, you grew up probably not with a lot of money in your pocket. Like, did you sense that as a kid? I mean, sometimes when you grow up and you can feel that as a kid, it kind of like impacts you, feel like you gotta do more or be better or chase that dream because, you know, you want to help your family out of that situation. You know what I mean?
100%. That's exactly how I felt. I mean, I remember the farms were foreclosing. We were on a
Yeah.
20% loan with the Farm Bureau, and they kept coming by. And I don't know how we saved the farm. And I think at one time, my dad's sister, which is Bridget's mom, kind of helped out. We got through with some family, but I remember it was we were almost going to be off the farm, and I thought, yeah, for sure, I got to bring something positive, bring some energy, some good vibes, and so that's what sometimes wrestling does. Just gives people some hope, right? I can fight through this. So, I can find a way. But yeah, for sure, I felt that way, and I wanted to bring something good to the family. But I didn't know any better. I didn't know wrestling didn't really.
Yeah.
But it's funny. At the end of the day, my life. I mean, my life's been. I've been making my money through coaching and wrestling.
Right.
So when people say they can't make a living wrestling, I don't think that's true. It's a very honorable sport, and there's a lot of coaches that are full time that are coaching.
Yeah. Did you ever consider not going to school and like staying back and helping on the family farm and trying to, you know, invest or make money that way or help out in some other way and then
Yeah.
going and wrestling in college?
For some reason, I don't. I love the farm, but the farm. I wasn't a farmer. It wasn't my. I was a wrestler.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because
Yeah.
it's just simple, man. Just go start, raising some cattle. I
Right.
we used to pull weeds and bale hay, and I used to pick rock for neighbors. And shoot, we'd get on our hands and knees. I mean, there'd be so much cottonwood and button. I mean, I just remember just how much weeds we get there because we didn't have the sprays back then. We didn't have the rock
Right.
pick, and it was just like a grind. And so I would train and I would run for the rocks, but I was okay getting off the farm and getting on the mat because to me, the wrestling mat was a lot more enjoyable training and work than the farm work. And the farm work, I think, created a great foundation for work ethic for other things. And you see a lot of these farm kids; they got a great work ethic, and you want to recruit them.
Yeah. Is that where you get a lot of your recruiting from? You just go farm to farm? I mean, there's a lot
And
of farms up in your area, so
who can yeah, who's the hardest work on the farm, right? Who doesn't want to hire that guy?
right.
Sure.
Uh, did you feel a little deflated? That state title was always within reach, but you could never fully pull it in. Did that ever discourage you about going on to the next level and competing at Central without that kind of validation, if you will? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I had the benefit of a great coach in Greg Lonning and convinced me that hey, those guys that took third or fourth, they're always the guys that we're looking for to win national titles, and he would just kind of almost manifest in your mind what's about to happen. And so Greg Lonning, a coach, a word or something said by somebody in those moments after defeat, you come off that podium at the state tournament, you got fourth, and the coach says, "Hey, man, I see it in you. You can be a national champ." It can change your whole life. And words from mentors, they really matter, and it rung true. And I bought the Kool-Aid from Greg Lonning, so I've always believed he helped me believe. I give a lot of credit to that and my college coaches.
Did you believe though, or did you almost have to like fake it? What do they say? Fake it till you make it kind of deal, or did you have to manifest that yourself a little bit before you actually started to believe yourself?
That's a great question. I mean, I think part of it is like I do remember going on these runs in the morning by myself and just thinking it's my destiny. It's my
Mhm.
destiny. My destiny. And just kind of manifesting in my mind and then just thinking, hey, why wouldn't it be my destiny? I'm up in the morning running and that my training partner's probably sleeping. And then in the weekends, I'm out doing this training and they're out drinking. And after a while you get around wrestling and you start realizing like I just had this conversation with one of my guys. Is like, there's 24 hours in a day. I mean, if 8 hours you're training and 8 hours you're working, those other 8 hours you're sleeping. I mean, you you're probably doing pretty good, but it's the 8 hours that you're spending doing stuff you shouldn't be doing. It's like, so if you're not out doing all that stuff on the weekend. So I do feel like I had a high level of discipline, and I was one of my mantras. So discipline, destiny, what was the other one? And determination, but those 3Ds, but I always feel like I was more disciplined. And not that I was, but I just thought I was. And if you
Mhm.
think, why, and once you think you can do something better than your opponent, it can give you an edge. Is why couldn't I compete with this person? Sure, maybe they're better at leg rides, but maybe I'm better at my double leg, and maybe I'm better at I don't let legs come in, but you have some kind of part where you feel like I have a path and a gift that I can excel. And I always felt that. I never felt like what one man could do another couldn't do. I always felt that, and I feel good about that part of just my faith-based journey of how Jesus makes us all, where's our identity, and how we can all be groomed by others or by Christ. And if I can do all things through Christ who give us strength, I always feel like, well, then why would I let Satan take away that? I don't follow Satan. I follow Jesus.
Yeah. How did you like you it's tough to say that like your identity is in wrestling, because like you don't want to be wrapped up in like I'm Jon McGovern, a wrestling guy, like you're Jon McGovern who does wrestling, who coaches wrestling. Like did you ever have that kind of a tough path of trying to not identify as Jon McGovern, a wrestler? Because you just talked about like, who you identify or how you identify.
Great point. I think when I was competing, I'd probably be in church thinking about wrestling, and I probably identified more as a wrestler. And then as I got mature and as an adult, I can see as a coach and even now in myself, like how it's healthier. And the chop champions know, they're resilient. Nobody wins all the time, but just knowing that we're a winner in Christ and we can have peace in that as we go out and compete with freedom versus entrapment, and then give our best and give the glory to God. And then that I always felt like one of my best years too. Like I would pray for my opponent, and I didn't like look at him like I didn't hate on him or something. I just wanted him to bring out the best in me and see how far we could push humanity, and then feel like we were pushing an envelope somewhere. So I don't feel like I don't know, my identity from the win and loss. I don't feel like I need to be validated by others through the sport. I don't feel like I need that for my ego. I don't I don't need that, but I do. I want others to know that they can do what others can do, and then we help humanity.
Yeah. And I think that another great portion of your story is how like success, isn't a linear line, and it can happen at any time. Like your success happened a little bit later
Yeah,
than others, and that's okay. So
yeah,
it's just, how did you kind of keep pushing to get better? Because like it seems like you kind of get to a point where like you kind of almost plateau, and then as you get older you kind of start to go like this a little bit, but you kind of ascended, and it seemed like you were ascending a little bit when others felt like maybe you should be descending.
yeah. That's a good point. So I do feel like my path when I was coming out of Central College, I beat Marcus Malika. He at Midlands. He was, some say, the best wrestler ever in Arizona State history. He was multiple national champ. I beat him 3 times, never lost to him. And I'm coming out of there, and then I start beating Chris Barnes, Matt Demery, Joe Williams. I hit the 1995 April 1st. I never trained with Royce Alger, and he's used to being number one. And he said, "Hey, we're going to train April 1st." And I got on the scale, and U.S. Nationals coming up. He goes, "What weight you going?" And I had won the 80 kilo. I'd won at the Michigan Open. I beat Chris Barnes, who was number 4 in the ladder, right behind him. I beat Joe Williams at 63 kilo, who was at the November Sunkist Open, and I beat Matt Demery, who was on the world team. And I said, I don't know, and I wrestled him, and I was taking him down, and he didn't like it. And the people there were Royce, Jim Zaleski, and Gable, and he got his take down, and then he hit me in the back of the head, and I had a concussion, and I whiplash, and I couldn't see, and it took me 2 years to recover post
Wow.
concussion syndrome. I went to doctors, all that, but then, I asked Gable, and he goes, "Well, you got to understand, Royce is used to being number one around here." And so I think some guys are used to being number one. And you're right, some guys are late bloomers. So then after that, in 95, I started coming back. I placed ahead of Cale Sanderson. I beat Marcus Malika in the same tournament. He beat Cale Sanderson in 98. I beat Marcus Malika again at the Olympic trials in 2000. Like, I was beating these guys coming from D3. And honestly, like, I knew like I had to commit to that trials process and I had people around me saying like, well, he's D3, and even coaches and people close to me that didn't believe him, and I could tell like that was when I look back now, I'm like, man, that can really limit a guy if he lets it
Mhm.
affect. If he doesn't just get in the Word and know who God wants him to be, and just kind of know his own path, and so anyway, long story short, I don't regret like the effort I put into it. I just learned like, hey, certain people can really give you energy, like a Dave Mitchell. Like my best year, that's what I was trying to get to. My best year, I took a pay cut from University of Virginia to go train with Johnny Curtis at George Mason. I was a full-time assistant at Virginia, beautiful Blue Ridge Mountain pavement, and I took a
Mhm.
pay cut. But he helped me train, and we would pray for our opponent. He was a strong Christian. I beat Kevin Jackson, Olympic gold medalist. That year, I was number 2 on the ladder. The only guy I lost to, I beat every time. Very well then, but he tested positive the time I lost to him for androtestosterone. So I bump up to 2, don't get to wrestle off for number 1. But that year I realized, like, just like when I was with Dave, when I would go to Midlands, Dave would be with me. It would give me energy. So the people that love you and pour in you and believe in you and want you to win, man, that's almost real energy. Like that's actually a
Mhm.
real thing. Like it's a real deal. And that's almost as important as the high crotch that you can find out online on your own anyway. Is do you believe I can hit my high crotch? Do you believe in my double? And you start manifesting that a little bit. But I don't want to, but that's in the Bible, man. As a man thinketh, so he is. And, you do want to iron sharpen iron, be around good brothers, but iron, sometimes the sharpening is encouragement. Hey, Dave, you can be a national champion, All American at lacrosse. Hey, when he talked about that Luther job, I Dave, take that job. You can be a great coach. I mean, when we did that team camp, I mean, I think sometimes one coach says something to you, and that's why I think we love coaches is because they want to help us carry us on to success, even if it's not on their watch, even if it's going D1 somewhere else, or they go on beyond you and raise their own family. That's the whole point. That's what I got guys that are coaching or doing things that, I want them passing me. That makes you feel good.
Yeah, when do you start believing that yourself? Like you just talked about this journey you went on and these guys that you beat, and you had coaches and people in your corner telling you these things, but like were you believing this all along, or did it take a minute for you to start to believe that like Kevin Jackson, Olympic gold medalist, I can beat him?
Yeah, I
I
always
don't have that Olympic gold medal, he does, but I can still beat him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I felt that way, but I do feel like I think Greg Lonnie definitely helped with that because when I went that year to lacrosse, he was like, "You got to go to the Hawkeye Club." Like when we went to Midlands, he took me. I beat Marcus Malika. He was the D1 national champ that year. I beat Shane Fry, D national runner up, and Lonnie and Marvin Wanders. Like those guys were there, and Lonnie always thought you could do big dreams, right? Like why not? So having people around you that already think like that and think like you can do it too. Like he came from Waukon, Iowa, small town, and I could relate to that. And I think he was a big part of my life that I don't, I miss him, man, because I used to be able to call him and stuff. He's just a good man,
Yeah.
and so much to many people, but so yeah, it's nice that you do this stuff, man. Nobody people do this, and then just seeing that, on Dave Mitchell, because sometimes it really is the story. I mean, the Bible's full of stories. It's not always the easy stuff on Facebook, but like, hey, what did these guys go through? So, and that kind of shares, a lot. And Dave, Dave went through a lot to get to where he was and to that program to build that up, and now to see that it's kind of the foundation of Luther College. I mean, it is the premier athletic program on that campus, and they love and respect the sport of wrestling because of what was built there by
Yeah.
Dave.
Yeah. Well, that why I like doing this too is, I bring you on and people are like, Jon McGovern, wow, wow. Jon McGovern didn't win his first title until he was a junior in college. Like you didn't win a state title. You got fourth at Central, and then you got over the hump and you were a junior and won a national title. I mean, it was a long process for you to get to where you were. And so that's why I like to bring, people on is the path is different. And we see these people and just how difficult the path was and how you kept on the path. Like at any
Yeah,
moment you could have been like, I'm done.
Yeah.
It's not happening for me, you know?
And that's why I think it's great to enjoy the process, because I feel like I was winning sometimes on those morning runs, and I didn't have to wait for validation that I was winning. Like,
Hmm.
right? You're running, like, man, I feel good. I feel like gold. Like, and all of a sudden you start feeling like, hey, it's my debt. And then you feel like it before it comes. So you start becoming that person. You don't need the validation from others, but you're starting to validate yourself, because the reality is you got to live with yourself the most, right? And so if you can feel good inside about you, that's a big thing. And you're looking in that mirror. And so, just people don't have to have the external validation to know, like, hey, I'm doing some good things right here this moment. I'm winning right now, doing some good things in my life, getting up, running and lifting in that day. And gosh, that sets a lot of momentum for your day. And I think you're a lot happier. I mean, I think sometimes everybody just, there's not a lot of encouragement out there sometimes. And it starts sometimes because you don't even know how to do it to yourself.
Hmm.
And I think it's a really good for people to, love themselves a little bit, not too much, not like an egotistical, but be okay, like saying, you know what, God made me for a purpose, and I'm useful, and I'm valuable, and I'm going to add value to others, and I'm going to see that in others. And that's why I love seeing the gifts and goodness in others, because it makes me feel better about myself. If
Hmm.
I look down, and that's what I love about Dave, is he's positive like that too. He's
Yeah.
positive, and that's why I resonate with him. That's why we were best friends, and that's why, competing against him is like the hardest thing, because in my DNA, I'm a lot like him. Like, I like
Hmm.
that guy.
Yeah.
Like,
And how did you keep positive in those moments though where it was difficult? Like in hindsight, it's easy, keep positive, keep going. It's hard, it's easy to say that, but like in those moments of turmoil, when it is difficult, when you feel like you're working your butt off and you haven't gotten that title yet or made that team yet, like how did you continue to push and be positive and take that next step to continue on the path to where you've eventually been led to,
it's a great question. I don't know if I have the exact answer, because I think sometimes I do think God kind of leads our steps, right? Like, for whatever reason, like I was just talking to one of my guys in the off state. He's like, I think I want to train, I want to go off this path, train for Olympics. And he's got a brother that doesn't want to do it. And I was talking to Dennis. I said, Dennis, you want to do it, but your brothers didn't. So I don't always think like everybody has to be doing certain things to be um, important in life, or valuable, or it's necessarily better. Like me, if I'm off training for Olympics, is that really better than somebody that just went off and started teaching and making a difference in thousands of kids' lives that become a future and teacher and leader? So there's not like one's better than the other. It's just, are we doing the best of the gifts we have with the purpose that God's called for us? So I feel like at the time, I feel like I was, I don't know if I chose wrestling or wrestling was choosing me, but I feel like that was supposed to be on that path, and there was no other path. I didn't, but if I started looking at their other paths, I might pray about it and say, hey, maybe God, maybe it's time to hang up the shoes. And I wish I kind of would have prayed about that more when I did kind of retire. But I did listen to some people, and they thought I was old. And then I watched some of the guys I beat make the Olympics teams and world teams. And I thought maybe I listened to others. So my conversation with this guy today was, hey, pray on it. What's God calling in your heart? And then do your best, and then go on that path. But you can't necessarily just go where other people think you should go in life, whether it's who you marry or what your passion or purpose is. So I think through that wrestling career, I think it is a hard decision, because a lot of identity is shaped by wrestling. And so you don't know if you're wrestling because you just don't know anything else, or if you're wrestling because that's what you feel God's calling you to do right now, that you're supposed to be doing that. And then when you're doing that, I feel like you can make better decisions about who God wants you to be around through that journey, and what kind of impact you're supposed to make on that environment. Because even if you don't make the Olympic team, does that make you not important in that time and space on the people that you impacted with? And that's where I tried to tell him, like, you should not feel like a failure. You should feel like a champion. You shouldn't wait for the gold medal. You should feel like a gold medal in Christ today, and then maximize your gifts and potential to go for that. But that shouldn't be the only way to validate yourself. Otherwise, you might be like always feeling unworthy, that you maybe aren't that good that you can win national world title. That's why I don't like putting anybody high up, and I don't like putting anybody low. What one man can achieve, another can achieve. I always feel like God put that in. If you're a guy with one leg, you can win an NCAA title. If you're a guy with no legs, you can win an NCAA title. So I love about wrestling.
Yeah. Dave did say that you were a big man of faith, and you've expressed that here so far to this point. I wanted to ask you actually about a question about that faith. How did you keep the faith when, like you come with times of turmoil, and it's easy to point the finger at the man above and be like, why did you do this to me? Why would you, I'm doing all the right things. Why didn't I get what I deserve? Or why didn't I win that match? Or, you know, uh, God, why did you not let me get what I feel like I put the effort into? You know what I mean? Like it's so easy to turn and question your faith when you don't get what you want, you know?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. But I do feel though, like I don't necessarily make myself alive. I feel like that's a gift that I'm even here, like even every day. Like I don't take tomorrow for granted, and I feel like, well, if I'm going to complain about what's happening around me, what kind of parts am I supposed to learn, and what can I do to impact or make a difference there? And so, even if I don't get what I want, can I make things better, and can I get what God wants for my purpose? And I feel like, because at the end of the day, physically, we're all going to die, and what was it for? What was our purpose? What did we do our part? And then, you know, I think there's peace in that. So, but I don't think we're supposed to have like easy. I do think
Yeah.
like hard stuff just makes us get stronger shoulders. And then like I think when our mind says, hey, you know, hard work's fun. Challenges are fun. And I think our mind, like we have ability to think. I mean, I guess you're right. When I had the concussion, you're right. I mean, there are hard times. I mean, if you're just straight like down and out, you're got a concussion, you can't think, your body can't walk. And I definitely, but I don't think it means God's not with me. It's probably the only
Right.
thing I have left, and it's all I need. I'm going to go there because that's all I ever had, and it might get me closer to God and closer to truth anyway. Because it really, this is all fleeting anyway. I mean, that's eternal and that's truth, and so I don't think we should try to. I know it's hard because I think in our mind we all want to feel worthy, and that's why I think chasing it versus being present in it is a different thing.
Hmm. Chasing being worthy is different than
We're chasing success versus I'm a success in Christ. Like I'm going to make a difference. I value, I matter, which means you matter. You're valuable. And so then I can feel valued versus I got to put you down. I got to win and you got to lose for me to feel valued. Like I don't have to have that. I can feel peace in the moment. Like, hey, God has a purpose and a plan for me, even if I'm just tending sheep right now and it looks like I'm just picking up sheep crap. But maybe someday I take out Goliath with the rock. But maybe I don't. Maybe that guy that's getting David ready for war to take him out. But either way, I know I matter, and that's worth gold, right? That's worth gold. That's eternal. That's worth gold. So I'm already got gold in me. So if I'm already got gold in me, I don't have to feel like a turd, right? Right?
yeah. Yeah. Dang, where did you like learn this from? Like I'm curious where the origin of this, because obviously this didn't just pop into your head, like this has been something that you've worked at and told yourself and come to fruition, but like where did this all manifest, like the beginning and the origin of this?
I think we're all growing. Like I'm growing through it, but just watching my athletes and us to, define what success means to us, and just knowing like we could be a lot freer, knowing like we are the sometimes the biggest limiting factor in our own lives, whether it's spiritually or physically or just what we want to have manifest, and just letting people let that out, and then they can be a little bit happier. And if they're happier and more fulfilled, how do you think that affects the community and the one you're living in? And so I just feel like there's I I think I'm growing through that because I see areas in my life, like in my marriage or different things that sharpen and challenge me. And so, you look at guys like Dave Mitchell, and like you said, I mean, did we ever argue? You don't see that guy argue, right? So how's he doing that? And then it inspires you to be more. But if you think that it's just the standard is, hey, it's always the temperature's always here. Like, hey, everybody when they get in trouble, they just yell or they cuss. And I'm not saying that's bad. I don't judge like people are cussing and swearing. I mean,
Mhm.
and I've done it too, but I try not to because I feel like I just want to go back to I think discipline is a good thing. I think it's a part of a spiritual walk too, discipline, and it's part of a wrestler's walk. Sometimes we don't eat bad food, right? We just
Mhm.
know how to say no, and if we know how to say no, then we don't even have to make a decision, because now I don't even have any energy fatigue, and now when I say yes, I really enjoy a good ice cream or something. I'm gonna
Mhm.
say enjoy it a little bit more, but we can't just be a glutton. We need those moments of seasons of life, and that's why we love Iowa, right? Otherwise, we'd be, you know, in Florida.
Yeah, true.
We love the
Um,
change. We feel like it makes it tougher.
when you found yourself straying from the path, how did you, I know these are kind of deep questions, but like, you know, w- when you found yourself straying from the path that you wanted to be on, how did you recognize that you were falling short, and how did you kind of like rectify it? Because I feel like as humans and as wrestlers, you know, we find ourselves not on the right path. And so how did you recognize that and like kind of slap yourself straight, be like, John, I'm doing this wrong. Like I gotta shape up.
Yeah, that's great. I do think, like, so I was talking to Allison Schwab, Doug Schwab's wife,
Yeah.
at the Fargo Nationals, and she said her and Doug sometimes, if there's issues, they'll say, "Hey, I need a wedge or just a moment." And if you remember, like Jesus, sometimes you just go off and meditate. And I feel like giving yourself, whether it's a Sunday or just the nighttime, like do the work in the morning, get up and do the work, and then reflect at night, eat the meal, and try and have like, just like there's a space that I'm going to do like intermittent fast, or I'm going to do my strength training, and then this phase is going to be the foundation, and then we're going to do speed power. Maybe your day is like, hey, I'm going to do my physical work and some of my spiritual work here in the morning. I'm going to get to work on these tasks, and then at night I'm going to give myself a wedge. Or if something, anytime I can pull out a wedge card, I need 5 minutes to walk, whether it's classes are 50 minutes, so we can take a 10-minute break. I need to go to the bathroom, or I need to take a breath of fresh air. Just knowing that you want to push yourself to growth, and then you want to recover. You want to lift weights, and then you want to eat, and then you want to do it again and repeat. But obviously there's going to be days where that's why I like that 28-day camp where we'll train to 4 workouts a day, and we'll do a fifth workout, and we'll just push the body beyond but what it should probably normally do, so we can handle duress. And then that's why I love that camp, because now can these guys discipline and still not swear? Do we still have a routine? And I talked to him. I said, "Do you want your kids swearing or coaching?" And they're like, "No." And so they understand. And I'm like, "Hey, do you want sarcasm with each other? Does that kind of bite you, or do you kind of want to hold the sarcasm in the afternoon?" And then there's kind of like a timing when it's like, okay, not right away in the moment, coach. We don't want to get up ready for work. Oh, so there is a pattern of success. So that is big, early to rise. So this stuff in the Bible, this is real. Okay, so let's know what the training plan is for our life and our emotions, and knowing that we can get a wedge and where they are. But I feel like if you don't have a plan or any ideas or thought, then it's hard to grow through it. And you just wonder why you just keep getting mad again, or like an athlete like Josh Sherrill, when he would have issues of doubt or stress, and we say, well, let's tape on our hand. I can do all things through Christ to give us strength. Let's just have a ritual, even if maybe it is, but it's a plan. Like, hey, if I
Mhm.
get angry, I get 5 minutes, or if I get down on myself, I'm just going to take a deep walk, and I'm gonna do what Kyle Dake said. I heard him say, if a bird poops in my head, something positive and great's going to happen in my life. I'm going to think that way, right? So I'm going
Mhm.
to just think something good's going to happen from it. And so I think there is a lot to be said about our mind, but also our spirit, in terms of not just the flesh, because the flesh is going to experience things that, it's how we're thinking and what we think the purpose is in our spirit that's going to attack how we respond to that. Because there's going to be times in your life where people are dying, and it's not fleshly fun, but how can we be there to love others? How can we grow closer? How does this make me understand real truth and life and what's important? How can I make life better for others? Or is it just about me and my flesh? Now I don't have no purpose. Now my mind is just kind of beating myself up, and now I'm just not necessarily coaching myself to probably where I feel like I'm using my time well, because it is, we all only get so much of it time here. That's the limited resource.
Has there been a point or a time in your life where you feel like you haven't had purpose, or where you've had to find or look for a purpose?
Yeah, that's great. I do feel like sometimes we're on a path that we don't always know, right? Like, we don't know
Right.
what. Yeah, I think you're right about that. And I think, but just knowing that, hey, I'm going to trust God through this, and I'll find it. Because you're right. Yeah, we're not all knowing. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we definitely have those moments for sure. But just know you're not alone, right? That's normal.
Right.
Normal.
Yeah. And
And,
that's
and
why I asked you the question is because, like, you seem like you got it all,
no,
and,
no, no, no.
and so I'm like, gosh, well, when have you been challenged? When have you had a point
Yeah.
of, man, my purpose? I don't know what my purpose is right now. Like after competing, when you've been competing for so long and that's what your identity was, it's like, well, what's next? So I didn't know if there was
Well,
a
I think
point in
like,
your life where you were like, man, I don't know what my purpose is right now.
yeah. Well, that's the great thing about coaching is sometimes all the mistakes or hurts that you had, you can give back, or lessons you learn, and you can feel a great purpose of just helping and loving on other people and
Mhm.
helping them get. Because it's always easier to help fix somebody else's problems than your own, but it's
Yeah.
like,
Yes.
but you know what? As you fix their problems, it actually helps you. And I think Greg Lonning was great at that. And so I think, a lot of his life, I guess I just, if I can live kind of like Greg Lonning, I just feel really happy, right? Because he lived the kind of life, faith and family and impact and believing you could do big things, but whatever you did wasn't bigger than the people you did it with, that you did it
Yeah.
to.
Has this philosophy been something you've basically built your program around? Has there been much sway in this McGovern philosophy, I guess I guess I'll call it.
I don't know about that. I mean, man, you're like a philosopher. I mean, I think I did love philosophy. My uncle liked to quote Aristotle and all this stuff growing up. I could tell like you're a philosopher, and I don't know if it's always in the. I think they can sense that I sense God has a purpose in their life, and I want to draw that out in them. I want
Yeah.
them to stand on that platform and then do the journey that God has called is going to be the only things that they can do, right? And then that they're equipped in Christ to walk through kind of the unknown territory and future ahead with strength.
I heard that you took the Dubuque job. You got the call to coach Dubuque. You got the call and you were on my uncle's porch. Is that true?
Really?
That's what he said. He's like, "Oh, Jon McGovern, yeah, he took the Dubuque call. He got the call and offered the job and he was on my front porch." And I was like, "What?
I think that might be true. I think so. I
What were
think
you
that is true. I
what were you
think
doing?"
I don't know. I was pretty close to your dad for a while there. We used to. That's funny. Gosh, he's got a good memory. He's sharp. Dave's that
Man.
way too. Yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah. So I thought I'd just bring
I
that
think I
up.
remember
He's like,
that conversation. Yeah, because I really trusted him. That's a sign of another good man, right? Just guy that when it's a big decision. And Dave did that with me when he was thinking about lacrosse and Lutheran. And that I was doing that obviously with Chet because I
yeah.
trusted him. He's a good grounding place.
Yeah, how did you end up at Dubuque? Like how did you end up even getting that phone call in the first place?
That's a great question. I can't remember actually. I don't even remember actually. That's crazy how that
It's
happened.
true. It's been what, 23 years,
I know.
pretty much.
And when I can't remember, but I remember they didn't really have only like three or four guys, and one of the guys, the first duels, he was smoking in between rounds, and he didn't
What?
last long. But they didn't win. They didn't win much at all. And then, but yeah, it was in Iowa. It was close to home. Probably, I don't know. I must have felt a calling to, and I did. I remember the president at Central College was like, if you're there more than 5 years, we got to talk because people are telling me like, do not stay there. And I fell in love with the mission, just caring about people and their Christian path. And I remember one of my mentors after a while became Ben Peterson, and he talked to me about how his mom kind of told him, don't go to Maranatha Baptist, go to Iowa State or a big school, you're going to ruin your coaching career. And he was like, but my coaching career is just to build better men, and I can build them in faith and whether we win. And so he went to Maranatha and he built, guys that became strong in the faith. And it wasn't all just about winning in his own resume. And I never really felt that was that important. But now, the university's in a healthy position. I definitely feel like we have a position to win and compete at the highest level. And we always all want to do that. But again, like, is that our premium goal, or is our
Mhm.
goal, you know, build the men we have? And if they get offered D1 NIL at $1 million a year, am I going to be upset with my crafty plan? No, I'll be happy that I helped somebody achieve something he didn't think he could achieve without coming here.
Wow. So when you got there, there was somebody who was smoking in between rounds of wrestling.
Yeah, I won't name names. Yeah, he had a cigarette. I mean,
Wow.
the intensity and intent was a little different, but
Yeah.
it changed, and that's what they needed. They just needed a little bit of support and culture. And I remember with them, we got Cole Williams, and he beat that Eric Lukey from Iowa was an All-American here.
Oh
Beat
yeah.
and Brands watched and beat him in overtime, and he was beating him on conditioning his style. And I felt like, wow, these guys are tough.
Hmm.
But that was fun. And everybody can be tough, right? Everybody can be
Right.
tough.
Yeah. And Dave Mitchell said this, and so I'm sure you might echo something similar, but yes, we don't want to be tied to the wins and losses and accolades and stuff, but they are nice. So I mean, you have a couple accolades of like Division 3 Coach of the Year, that's kind of nice.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. You don't want to fail. Right? No, 100%.
Right.
And I tell my guys, I was like, hey, there's some things we've done here that we haven't won a national title yet. Here's some things that I'm seeing. Grandview coach came here. This is what they're doing. This is the times, and I know I got to become more just like they do to win. I got to become more as a coach. So I'm always, to me that's a process, and I'm open to it, and I feel like I'm I, I'm on that path. I definitely feel like it is important competing to win for sure, and that's what we want to do. But at the same time, um, when I die, like I'm not going to be like that. That's not going to be what I shape my whole value of my identity. No way.
Not going to be on
But
your headstone.
now my relationship with my guys is more important than that, and how they're doing,
Yeah.
and they better men because of it, and are they better leaders, and they feel fulfilled and happy with the journey they're on because I care about them, or was it, hey, I got this, but I want them to experience, just like Dave does. You want your guys to experience a national title. You want them
For
to
sure.
experience it. But we do that together, and Dave knows that too. We
Yeah.
had to do that with Lonnie. We had to do that when we were wrestlers. I mean, they don't win without guys in the team winning national. So it's a team effort, but it's like a family. Like when our family was struggling, we were tight. When we got wealthy, we were tight, but we were always a family, and it didn't affect who we thought of ourselves if we didn't have a lot of money on that farm. And the same thing
Hmm.
with our wrestling. Like we don't need the validation. We know what we're capable of. You're right. We want to go get it for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. That's part of the fun, though. That's part of the fun.
Yeah. You said that you hold your guys accountable, or that's part of your job, as a coach. Who holds you accountable? I wonder.
Probably my
Who makes,
wife.
yeah, I was gonna, who makes sure that you're staying on the path? Because as much as you like to walk the faith path, and there are still times, like you said, where Satan is still pulling at you, and he's gonna try to pull you off your path. And so I'm just curious, like, who keeps you on your path?
Well, I feel like my wife does a good job of that. She was
Yeah.
studying to be a hospital chaplain and was a great influence on my life. But and then just thinking about probably like just like President Bullock, he was a strong Christian here. He was a big impact in my life. And then I'm going down to California, Jose Campbell with FCA, Mark Mastemacher, um, Dennis Hall. We do Bible study here. So, Johnny Curtis. I mean, whoever God's put in your life, God puts different people in your life at different times for a reason. And I think
Yeah, for sure.
when you do it all alone, I don't think that's how God intended us. We're supposed to love our neighbors ourselves. And then at that time, too, realizing like God's putting certain people in your life for a reason, just like He puts me in their life for a reason. So just being open to that, like, hey, did this person come into my life to at time maybe I needed it? Maybe I'm gonna be available. So just knowing that kind of will help walk you through it. Versus, yeah, if you try to do it all by yourself, I don't think that's how we're supposed to be living.
Hmm. Yeah. And God also, sometimes he puts opportunities, jobs um, in your life at certain times.
Yeah, sorry, somebody
Oh,
just stop.
no, you're good. Um, I was just saying, God puts opportunities or jobs in your life at certain times when you need them. Why do you think that God put you um, um, as a DJ at Cleats and Spikes? Why do you think he was why did he push you to be a DJ? Yeah, you ever asked that?
That's so funny. I don't know how you found that fact out. That's pretty good.
Thank you.
I,
Thank you.
I actually, that's a great, and I played some funny music, but I didn't last too long as a DJ. But then when I went to
Really?
lacrosse, when I did it at student union, I was a grad assistant at lacrosse, and I did some of that. I was doing some of that music too. But Yeah, I think maybe it was, and I think about this too sometimes now, even in my adult life, is I think, and this is Dave when at the wedding, and I think he does a good job with it. Is I do think that there is some seasons of fun that we're supposed to have, like seasons of sorrow and seasons of fun. So I do think that's one thing I have to be okay with, and I'm realizing like I think sometimes as wrestlers and just as humans, we feel like we're not enough, like we don't deserve to be happy, honestly,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
that we always have to work hard and improve and bet. But I think, you know, when we're happy, it shows, hey, we're happy with what God has given to us in this time. So even if it's music or playing some music, I think it's okay to have fun.
Yeah.
So, and I know Dave does a great job of that. I love that guy's energy that way.
Yeah. Were you his DJ then at his wedding?
No, I would have been great.
No?
Yes, yeah.
Wow, missed opportunity there.
Yeah.
Did you have a stage name?
No, I wasn't that good. I
Oh,
didn't get that good. Yeah, that's next
gotcha.
level.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm just a little genuinely curious about this DJ because like I've never talked to a DJ before. Did you like have a playlist that you put together, or did you just like go up there and like play songs? Like, did you remix at all?
No, I kind of just would play songs yeah, I like to always have the music on, but yeah, music does a lot for environments, doesn't it? That's
Yeah.
bringing music and sound is a big deal into environments and
Yeah.
like yeah, just energy. And so I like that. So my wife and I did like we did like Tony Robbins and we volunteered to some of his stuff. He does a lot of that lighting stuff,
Really?
big on that stuff. But I think the faith can. I always tell the guy, I feel like your faith can overcome if the environment's bad and you can be in a prison cell and you got locked up with a lion and you could be maybe David and get that lion to cuddle up to you. Who knows? But I
Yeah.
do think faith is strong, but I also feel like environment it can do a lot, and I think we can all make the environments better around us.
Yeah. Speaking of environment, I was wondering what the environment was like at a Red Flag Day practice at the Hawkeye Wrestling Club.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, really, it's a gable practice, and so you're just like you're almost feeling like on top of the world because you like when you do those things, you feel like, and this is why I like the 28-day camp. There's a moment in time you feel like you're outworking everybody in the world, and
Yeah.
that's a great feeling. It builds your confidence, right? And so even if you didn't know it was, and that's what I found out when I left Iowa, is that I can have other guys training as hard. The problem is they didn't think they were training as hard as at Iowa. And at Iowa, there was times where there was some light days, but when there was hard days, they were hard days. And I think the big factor is we were wrestling really tough guys, and so those guys were tougher than what you face. But no, those were those are big. And I remember I was wrestling Travis Pfizer at one of the red flag packs, and he was bigger than me, and I took a shot and I kind of stopped and Gable said, hey, McGovern, never concede to anybody or on your knees. And I wrote that down and just little nit things that he would say. Some days he would come by and he'd had a wiffle ball bat and he'd smack if you weren't attacking. And, so I never really thought of it like, I guess he kind of groomed it, but of like a battle or a fight. I always just felt you're always supposed to be attacking. Like that's what you do. That's what it'd be like going to work and being on, hey, you're supposed to work hard and be the first one to be. It's just a nice thing to do. Like
Mhm.
it's what you're supposed to do. Right.
Yeah.
So part of the job wasn't like, hey, I got to fight at a high rate. No, of course I'm attacking with a constant attack style rate. And of course my job is to get this guy tired and gassed and broke. That's my job. It doesn't mean I don't love him, but it didn't feel like I had to have a bunch of hate feelings about it. It's just what you did. And I think right now that you're seeing that with athletes because a lot of the guys Gable coach are coaching or you just see the cultures. People are understanding like Penn State doesn't feel like they got to hate guys. They're just in great shape and wearing guys out. They're attacking though. They're not a lot of little bit of they can pressure release. There's a little bit of a different game right now than this, but it's still offensive mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you, with your guys, you take that into your approach with your guys? How do you though, um, not teach them, but how do you attack them, but also back off when they need to? Sometimes it can be kind of a push pull thing. You don't want to push them too much because then you'll burn them out or they get hurt or whatever. So you kind of want to pull back. It can be a tough game to play if you're a coach.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty good. There's just a lot of just systems that everybody has, knowing when to back off, what's the time of year, when how much when the practice are just an hour and a half or 15. I heard Brian Smith just this weekend at the coaches convention, his practice are never probably over an hour and a half, and that's why his wrestlers never run to the shower. They stay and they do the extra stuff on their own, and the guys stay after. But knowing when the volume of that stuff is, and then I haven't always done it perfect, so just surrounding myself with some guys that have won some national titles, and that's why last year I feel like we did a little bit better job at the end. Because you're right, that's a fine thing, and I think Dave did a great job. I mean, you see in our conference, guys have to fight hard to get out of that regional, and then once they get there, another 2 weeks to get them to peak again. And Dave did a great job with his guys at the NCAA tournament, getting guys to place above their seeds, and that's a little bit of art for sure with athletes knowing what. I think there's a lot of communication that can go into play on that too, for sure.
Yeah, when are you gonna back off? I mean, it feels like you're just gonna go until you die. But like,
Yeah.
are you gonna like, do you back off yourself at times? Like, you know,
Hmm. Yeah, I suppose so. I mean,
I suppose, huh?
yeah. I mean, I guess, yeah, we do it. But wrestling is just overall, it's a fun sport and craft. But I was thinking about that the other day. Is like, when you go on a trip and just being present, and not thinking about wrestling and trying to do that. And that's kind of a meditation for a wrestler and a coach, just knowing like, hey, I'm not going to really think about, you know, wrestling. I'm just going to think about being content with my family or just seeing what God's called me here. But I do see that. I feel like there's a lot of impact I want to pass on before
Yeah.
I pass on. But I don't feel like I'm doing this because I need validation. I just feel like I can do some contribution. I feel like I want to help leave an impact for sure.
Thanks again for listening to this episode of the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. Special thanks to my guest, head coach Jon McGovern, for taking the time to sit down and chat with me. Cover art created and designed by Kristen Gill. Please feel free to rate, comment, and subscribe to the podcast. And you can also check me out on Twitter, Instagram, and my Facebook page to hear more of my content. And don't forget to check out my website at letstalkwrestlingpodcast.my.canva.site. And as always, be sure to tune in to hear the next guest of the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. Take care. We'll see you next time.